Good morning. So we did it. I did a live stream every single day this week. Monday through Thursday, set schedule. I actually did it. First time I think in probably over a couple months. Good old life work balance, right? So welcome into the live stream today. Let's see, this is the 75th episode of me doing this. So I'm 75 episodes of doing this live stream already. Isn't that wild? It's wild to me. It doesn't seem like that long ago that I started doing this. Well, I guess it's not because I do, average 2 to 4 times a week. So it goes by pretty fast. But welcome in. Today's a show. I've got, a few articles we're going to go through. One is the one I meant to actually do yesterday, but I was being over ambitious. I had 5 articles that I thought I was going to get through, and that was a joke. I usually get through 3. So I don't know what I was trying to do. But anyway, I pushed this one to today. So today's show, I'm going to be reviewing, 4 articles if I can. This will be on here for about an hour. So I'll have a hard cut at 9:30. So just so you know. But I'm going to talk about your personality type. It says your personality type is the key to determining your real estate niche, whichever one you like to say. The next one is 3 questions every agent should ask hesitant buyers. The third, actually, that's not RealTracs and Zillow. RealTracs Zillow reach licensing deal after listing feed standoff. I got to open up another article. It looks like I'm missing one. I thought I opened them all up, but I did not. Let's see. Which one am I missing? Oh, this one, I think. I think this is the one I'm missing. Yeah. This is the one I'm missing. Let me open that one up. I saved this one too. This one, parked and productive. How to turn car time into winning video content. So today is going to be a show of trying to help you guys just on some skills as far as being a real estate agent, how to navigate this market and what that looks like. So welcome in, guys. Glad you guys are here. Glad you guys are starting to stream on in. Come on in. That's good. But anyway, yeah. So we're going to wrap up this week with these articles today. So if this is your first time here, let me just tell you briefly what I do. My name is Adam. I've been in real estate for over 20 years. This live stream is basically just a time for you to come in, grab a cup of coffee. I go through the real estate news. This is mostly specifically aimed at talking to real estate agents, but consumers also get some value out of this as well. But that's kind of what this show is designed to do. So just know that's what it is. All right. With that being said, I'll tell you this. Someone's just asking me what this is. Yeah, it was kind of weird. A big bar sitting down there. So this is a racing baton. So this is like when you're doing a relay race. So I coach track and field and cross country. So this is one of those racing batons, but it's signed by Nick Simmons, which is a professional runner. So it's an autographed baton by him. So that's what that is. I know it kind of looks kind of weird just sitting on that shelf, but now you know. For those that are curious, now you know. Make sure it doesn't roll off of there. Kind of looks kind of weird sitting back there, but that's what that is. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started with this show so we can stay on point and I can maybe get through 4 articles. So we'll see what happens. Welcome to the Real Estate Brief. I'm Adam. Today, we're going to be cutting through the noise. We're going to get to the truth in the news, look at the data, and I'm going to give you some of my observations and where I believe you can find opportunity. So if you're ready to gain your real estate edge, let's dive into our first story. And like I said at the very beginning, our articles today are very much focused on helping you as a real estate agent to be able to maybe grow and develop some of the business habits and that kind of stuff to help you be more successful. So that is the bent of the day. I've spent the rest of this week talking about the economy, interest rates, all those type of things, just going over those news articles. Today, we're going to try to focus just on some practical advice and help from our good old friends at Emma News and RIS Media, 2 real estate sources for real estate agents. So that's what we're going to be focused on today. All right, this first article, I'm going to give a little bit of context to it. But this is going to be by Inman, and it says, your personality type is the key to determining your real estate niche. This is align your niche with your natural strengths to unlock greater success, fulfillment, and flow. Now, let me just say this first and foremost, when we start talking about personality tests and all this kind of stuff. And you can disagree with me, but this is where I'm at on these things. I think they can be a helpful tool. I think they can help you maybe understand some, giftings and traits that you might, be better at than others. But here is where I just kind of put a little bit of a caution into doing any kind of personality profile and anything like that, is sometimes you can lean so heavy into the idea of a simple test like this that then you think that that defines who you are and how you can operate, and then you don't think you can go into other territories and that kind of stuff. The reality is, yeah, you might have a little bit more experience in certain, areas of your personality, in certain areas of real estate. But the reality also is that you can develop skills and traits in other areas if you find that you enjoy those areas. So even though it's good to kind of learn more about yourself and kind of understand your personality and maybe what you like, what you don't like, and all those type of things, the reality is you can go a little bit too much into that and therefore miss opportunity if that's where you put all your entire focus on. There are some brokerages that use personality tests to tell you what you're good at and what they want to plug you in at and that kind of stuff. Look, I am a big fan of going where doing and what you like when you enjoy it. Like if you find that you might not want to be a buyer's agent and you enjoy working with sellers, but your profile says you're a bit more of a buyer's agent, well, yeah, but if your passion is working with sellers, then craft the ability to be better at working with sellers. So we can use tools like personality tests to kind of help us frame in and understand ourselves better. But I would be very cautious and doing everything around what those things mean. But it doesn't mean we can't find value there. So that's just my personal opinion. That's where I'm at on it. But let's go ahead and jump into this article here by Emma News. It says, your personality type is the key to determining your real estate niche. Align your niche with your natural strengths to unlock greater success, fulfillment, and flow. That's funny. Success, fulfillment, and flow. Human nature is we're never fulfilled. I'm sorry. It's just the reality. We are just not fulfilled. We think that, once I get this and I have that, I get all this and I'm just going to be content. That's not really the case, but still, I get the premise here. All right, let's begin. In real estate, success doesn't come from trying to be everything to everyone. It comes from finding your zone, your niche or niche. I don't know which one you like to say, where your personality, passions, and strengths collide. The good news, you don't have to force it. Your ideal niche might already align perfectly with who you are. Let's explore how different personality types can thrive in various real estate specialties and how choosing the right fit can make your business feel less like work and more like purpose. So just a good conversation, guys. Now, this is going to be focusing on the Myers-Briggs test. The Myers-Briggs, it's been around for a long time. It says the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI, is a popular personality assessment tool that helps people understand how they perceive the world, make decisions, and interact with others. Based on the psychological theories of Carl Jung, it groups individuals into 16 different personality types using 4 key dichotomies. The 4 key dichotomies are introversion versus extroversion, i.e., where you get your energy internally or from others. Sensing, S, and versus intuition, N, how you gather information through facts or big picture ideas. The next one is thinking, which is T, versus feelings, F, how you make decisions, logically or emotionally. The next and last 2, judging, which is J, and versus perceiving, P, how you approach life, structured or flexible. Understanding your MBTI type can be eye-opening. It reveals why you're drawn to certain activities, how you communicate best, and what environments help you thrive. For real estate agents, it's a powerful way to identify the niche that aligns with who you truly are, not just what you think you should be doing. When you know your personality type, you can tailor your business, your branding, and even your client interactions to play to your natural strengths. That's not just smart, it's transformational. Now, these type of things, again, are based on a lot of opinions and a lot of research on psychology, that kind of stuff. And they, again, going back to what I said, they're helpful in regards to giving us just a better understanding maybe on different personality types and where we land. Again, I wouldn't lean into them fully. It's okay to explore things that you enjoy regardless of any kind of test you take, but they can help you understand, maybe I lean more towards being extroverted. Maybe I am more introverted, these type of things. And intuition versus sensing, thinking versus feeling, judging versus perceiving, like all these type of things can help us better understand maybe some strengths and weaknesses that we might have. Okay, so this might be just a good conversation for us to have just in general to help us understand what this means. Now, the Myers-Briggs, I don't know. Yeah, so we can take this here. Let me open this up in a new tab and let's just look and see. I don't know if it costs or what. Build a foundation for personal and professional growth. MBTI online for personal growth. Let's see, learn more. Yeah, it's $60. So yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you had to pay for it. So if you're interested in taking the Myers-Briggs test, you can take it for $59.95. So $59.95. It says MBTI online helps you explore your unique personality and achieve greater self-awareness to improve interpersonal relationships and personal well-being. You can purchase it for yourself or as a gift. And that is the personal one. Then you also have one for careers and for teams. So you can take the test if you want to. You can mess around with that, see where it lands. I've not taken this thing in years, so I have no idea what it would say about me, but go for it. All right. The top 6 personality concepts. Here are the top 6 personality concepts that can help you determine which niche might be best for you and what marketing efforts and business ideas you would be best at. Red Sky, how much does NVIDIA 6,000? Oh, you're trying to sell something. You're spamming me. Come on. Don't spam. Not good to spam, guys. Hold on, guys. I'm going to block something here. All right. All right. The social butterfly. Number 1, the social butterfly, the networker and people person. Best niches. So if you're kind of that social butterfly, the person likes to get out and go do things, the networker and people person, best niches are first-time home buyers, relocation clients, community-centered sales. Okay, so if you do like to get out, that's a good one. First-time buyers, relocation, and community-centered sales. You're energized by conversations, thrive on human connection, and love helping people navigate life changes. You'd be fantastic working with first-time buyers who need extra guidance or relocation clients who need someone to help them plug into a new community. Your ability to make people feel comfortable and informed is your superpower. It says you'll thrive in hosting buyer seminars, creating video tours or neighborhood walkthroughs, and building strong referral networks. So yeah, this is very typical. I see this all the time, like the social butterfly. They are the ones in the office that are always willing to be in the office, always want to go on home tours and do open houses. They don't mind getting up in front and talking about people or talking to people. They also don't mind if they're in a training setting, raising their hand and engaging in conversations and talking. So they don't mind any of that stuff. That's who they are. They are the social butterfly. So just if you feel like you are a social butterfly, what this is saying is you're probably going to be really good with first-time home buyers, relocation clients, and community-centered sales. That's what it's kind of saying. Number 2, don't you kind of feel like I should probably read this like in a more monotone voice? It's almost like it's like speaking to somebody. It's just like as I was reading that, I was like, this sounds like it's like a motivational speaker or something like that. Let's try this out. Let's try this out just to be fun. The detail-oriented organizer, the analytical type. The best niches are investors, luxury buyers, and commercial real estate. You're the kind of agent who reads the fine print for fun. You love data, spreadsheets, ROI calculations, and knowing the ins and outs of zoning or property value trends. Okay, I'll stop. That's fun. You bring logic and order to chaotic process, which makes you a rock star in niches where precision matters. You'll thrive in market analytics, investment property consulting, and high-stakes negotiations. Investors, like luxury home buyers, commercial real estate. So detail-oriented. This is where if you love data and you don't mind sitting in front of an Excel sheet, you don't mind learning about how finances work, like you find that thrilling and you have no problem sitting down and crunching numbers, you do have a big niche in regards to investors and commercial real estate. Now, depending on the area you're in, like if you are in our area, it would be very hard for an agent to niche down into these sectors. Not so hard in the investor or luxury buyer, but definitely in the commercial arena. We don't have enough commercial in our markets that I have offices in, except for one market, that would make it a viable option to niche down in. So if you land into this arena and you feel like you're more of a detail-oriented person, and if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the Myers-Briggs personality test that you can take and the different personality types and how they connect to real estate. So you can go take that Myers-Briggs and you can come back to this article and just kind of get their opinion about where you might be best suited in regards to niching down into our real estate. But the thing is, luxury buyers, yes, but luxury buyers are people that have a lot of cash usually. They are money crunchers and they're high-end professionals. So if that's the case, they're going to appreciate that attention to detail. They're going to appreciate the data metrics about their investments because that's what they normally would do. So that's how they're going to operate. So if you find that you are more of a detail-oriented organizer type person, those are the industries. So I would agree with every bit of that. Investors especially, being able to figure out what cap rates are and return on investments and all that kind of stuff, it's all about numbers. Two of these three categories, the investor and commercial category, is not emotional purchases or emotional sales. They are data driven, right? Like if you think about any other industry, like or any other niche, like buyers buying residential homes for themselves or whatever, they're buying to personally fit what they're looking for. Investors and commercial, man, they're looking for the bottom line. They're looking for something that works for them. There's not an emotional tie to that. So you're a little bit more of a direct type communication, direct sales than having to deal with emotions and stuff. Usually there's not any. Not so on the luxury buyer side, but anyway. All right, next one is the problem solver, the strategic thinker. Now, this is where I landed when I was actually selling real estate years and years ago. I was the problem solver. This is what I loved doing. This is what got me going. And the strategic thinker. The best niches for them is FSBOs, expired listings, divorce, and probate sales. Now, I did other things with investors and things like that as well, but this is where I landed. It says, you like a challenge and hate seeing opportunity go to waste. You're great at identifying what's broken and figuring out how to fix it. Listings that others shy away from, you lean in. This makes you perfect for niches where clients need a strong advocate and a smart plan. You'll thrive in building strategic listing presentations, coaching sellers through tough decisions, creating targeted marketing turnarounds. I loved this. Domingo, good morning to you too. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. Catch you up on what we're talking about. We're talking about the Myers-Briggs personality test that you can take. And this is an article by Inman taking those different letters that you could qualify for or whether you get, assigned to you from that personality test and kind of helping you understand where you land in regards to that personality test and what maybe your niche might be inside of real estate. So that's what we're talking about. So just catching you up. But the problem solver is where I landed. I landed in being a problem solver. I liked FSBOs, I liked expired listings, and I liked divorces and estate sales because every single one of those deals was a strategic positioning. I had to analyze everything. And a lot of times agents kind of it fell through, it didn't work out, and they didn't take the time to kind of strategize out the best way to kind of get the property sold and to help those clients out. And I found it exhilarating to do so. It was difficult in a lot of ways, but man, it got me going because it was just like every day was different. And I love solving problems because once you get to the other end, you just feel like you really accomplished something good. And so that's where I landed. I was definitely the problem solver. I loved solving problems. And I think that's probably where I like being a broker. I like my position because most of the calls I get, I'm still that problem solver. It's, hey, Adam, I got this problem. I can't figure this out, whatever. And it's like, I'm still doing that kind of activity. So it doesn't say that here, but I would think, and it doesn't say that, but I would almost say the problem solver is also somebody that would make a good broker. Like that's the one that doesn't mind getting in the trenches and playing the long game and being able to solve the problems for others and gets a thrill out of that. And I think each one of us have different giftings and different roles to play. And I think it's what makes this industry so amazing is we all do. And that's where I like where this article is kind of going. So, but I would think the problem solver would be a really good broker. And that leads right into the next one that also I would put into the broker category is the empath, the heart-centered helper. That's another one. But here's what that says. It says best niches is seniors, downsizers, estate sales, military, and service families. You feel deeply and genuinely care about your client's emotional journey. You're the shoulder to cry on during life transitions and the calm in the storm. Your niche involves more than just transactions. It's about trust and compassion. You'll thrive in building long-term relationships, guiding families through sensitive transitions, and creating content that educates and comforts. Now, Kevin, good morning to you, my friend. Welcome to be here. Welcome to have you in. Thank you for coming in as always. Glad to have you. But the empathy type selling person, that's a very good, genuine trait. And that's somebody, in my experience with agents, is the one that builds the long-lasting referral business. If we can get to the point where we have empathy and we can understand the difficulties of actually buying a home and the transaction itself, we do really well in this industry because it is by nature a referral-based business. And people really want that empathy. And the reason why I'm even spending more time on this one is because this is the piece that the AI revolution can't touch. It can't create that empathy. So I'm going to pause for just a second. This is where I go back to what I was saying at the very beginning of personality tests is you can go through a personality test and it's going to assign you a letter and say, this is what you're best at. It does not mean you shouldn't work towards doing some of these other things if you can see the benefit of doing that. This one here is one that I would say really get good at. And there's a main reason why is in real estate, you are dealing with people that are at the height of their emotions, right? They are dealing with, moving cross country. They've got their home completely disheveled. They're going into like a new area and they're uneasy. It's also the largest purchase they're going to be making. The same on the seller side, they've got to do the same thing, right? So every bit of the emotion is higher than it would be. So you end up getting this like erratic behavior from people sometimes. And as agents, we can be just cold-hearted, be like, oh, this person I've got is an idiot. Oh, they're causing all kinds of problems. I don't like them at all. The reality is, given the context of the moment, they are at the height of their emotional state. So they're going to do crazy things. So an agent that can show empathy has a better chance of retaining the client long-term and also building a referral business. So honestly, regardless where you land on a personality thing, work on your empathy. Work on your empathy. All right, number 5, the creative visionary, the marketer and innovator. The best niches are luxury homes, new construction, design-centered clients. You have an eye for beauty, style, and storytelling. You see what a property could be, not just what it is. And you know how to help buyers and sellers see it too. You shine when marketing unique homes and creating uncomfortable brand experiences. You'll thrive in staging and branding listings, social media storytelling, hosting events, and luxury open houses. Think of the Magnolia Company, right? The Gaines there in Waco, Texas, right? You think about that, those two, the husband and wife, and how they build, how they are the creative visionary. That's what they are. If you want to think about what that personality trait looks like, you can think of them, all right? They do that. They stage and they brand listings. They do social media storytelling. That's that. If you watch the show, that's what they do. But you have a niche to just see the luxury of a property that needs a little bit of work and putting your time into that. So that would be that creative visionary. You're good at telling a story and everything looks good. Number 6 is the lone wolf, the independent go-getter. Best niches is rural properties, land sales, FSBO, and investor partnerships. You're a self-starter who values freedom and autonomy. You're not afraid to drive out to remote listings, meet unique client types, and work on your own timeline. You're most productive when you're given space to operate on your own terms. You'll thrive in unique property types, ranches, cabins, vacant land, working with investor clients, and creating your own systems and workflows. Now, on the surface, you would say, man, the lone wolf, that seems like a negative trait. It's not necessarily a negative trait in real estate. When you are in land sales, especially in the real rural areas, that is a very lonely endeavor. You're going out, and a lot of times you're going to go out onto properties by yourself, hiking and looking at land, and you're by yourself. You've got to really enjoy doing that. And you might spend an entire day looking at land and might only talk to one person, and the same goes for like, investment partnerships and big ranches. Like all those type of things are the long play, and you got to be willing to kind of do things by yourself. There's very few people that specialize in this, and it also requires a big strong niche and understanding how like farms work, how rural land lays, and best use cases for that. So there's a lot of research in this. And it's really going into like areas by yourself and just doing some site evaluation and seeing what's out there and knowing the community. It requires a lot of work, and a lot of it is it's a lonely endeavor. But it can be a very rewarding one because the deal you might be working on for the past year might be hundreds of acres that sell for well over a couple $1,000,000. So it can be a very lucrative one, but it can be a very isolating one. So you're going to be okay with that. You're going to be okay with that whole idea of working kind of alone and working for the long play and that kind of stuff. All right, the real estate industry is wide enough for every personality type to find their groove. You don't have to mimic someone else's success to build your own. Instead, lean into who you already are. When your niche matches your nature, everything from marketing to meetings start to feel more aligned and more effective. So going back to what I said at the very beginning of this article, I think it's just helpful. David Hefferman, thank you for the follow. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Hope you're getting some value out of this. But the whole point of this too is going back to the very beginning is like, the reality is these personality tests that you can take will help you understand yourself better in regards to your strengths and weaknesses. But it doesn't mean you just pigeonhole yourself into one. It's be broad and understand that, man, maybe I find more interest in being the lone wolf. Maybe I find more interest in showing more empathy or being that problem solver and that kind of stuff. And I want to develop those skills. You might be in an area where certain niches down here, like certain personality types might not be the greatest. And you need to be kind of take a step back and say, man, where's the money coming from in this market? And where can I develop my skills a little bit better? So regardless if you take a personality test or not, these type of ideas behind this kind of give you an idea of areas of where to work on yourself as far as your character is concerned. And that's where I lean more heavily into it. Now, yes, you're going to have different strengths that lean towards one of these over the other ones, but all can be developed. The second thing I want to say is these type of things, though, is they're complementary. Like if you want to have a really strong office and you want to have a good, strong team, you're going to have personalities that are all completely different. Sometimes they clash, sometimes they mesh well, but each one is part of the bigger picture that brings success to the whole. And it's good. All giftings, all different types of personalities and character traits in real estate have a place. And so if you're an agent out there and you're struggling to find your place, maybe this will help you. Maybe this will help you kind of think through this a little bit differently and say, what's my strengths? What's my weaknesses? And ask yourself those tough questions. I think in the end, you'll better understand yourself. You'll kind of understand where to spend more of your time and what actually motivates you to be able to do this. All right. That was a lot for just one article. All right, let's go to number 2. Number 2. I've got 30 minutes in. I've done one article. I did better yesterday. All right. This is 3 questions every agent should ask hesitant buyers. And we see this a lot right now. With all this interest rate fluctuating, all that kind of stuff going on, man, people are kind of hesitant. They are holding back just a little bit, kind of waiting for the market. So the right questions can turn "we're just looking" into real clarity and sometimes action. So let's analyze this article together. Hesitant buyers don't always say they're hesitant. They might say they're just browsing, or they want to see what happens with rates, or that they're waiting for the perfect home. In today's market, where affordability concerns, rate sensitivity, and uncertainty still linger, agents who move deals forward aren't the most aggressive. They're the most curious. The right questions don't pressure buyers into action. They help buyers articulate what's holding them back. Now, there is a very profound statement here, and this is where we as agents really need to learn, and we as people really need to learn, is we do way more talking than listening. And you can see this in action anywhere you go, is the moment someone might answer a question, you are immediately ready just to give an answer and just go full in, and just ramble on and tell them all the information they need to have. But the statement here is very cool. It is very true. Rate sensitivity and uncertainty still linger. Agents who move deals forward aren't the most aggressive. In other words, they're not the ones so quick to answer every single thing. I have the answer to everything, right? They're the most curious. So when you hear somebody make an objection against something, is your first response is you want to rebut that and just immediately hit it head on? Or do you follow it up with a clarifying question? Because that's what they're talking about. You're going to be more curious about what led the person to have that objection. That's the goal. The goal is to better understand why they have that objection to begin with. What's holding them back? So open-ended questions, challenging them on their views, and asking thought-provoking questions to get to the root of what they're trying to do is the key here. All right, what would need to be true for you to feel confident moving forward? Okay, so this is number 1 question. What would need to be true for you to feel confident moving forward? Now, that's interesting. This question shifts the conversation from vague hesitation to specific conditions. Instead of debating timing or market predictions, you're inviting the buyer to define their own threshold. Maybe they need a monthly payment under a certain number, a rate below a certain percentage, more job security, more savings in the bank. Once you know the condition, you can respond strategically, whether that's connecting them with a lender to run scenarios, discussing rate buydowns, or adjusting price points. Clarity beats assumption every time. This is the thing. It's like, let's say the person goes, I don't really want to buy right now because the interest rate is 6.75, which I think is what it's at right now, actually. So, yeah, it is. There you go, just so you see it. 6.75 conventional, 30-year fixed. All right. Let's just say that their first objection, yeah, I don't really want to buy right now because the interest rate is 6.75 and it's just too high, right? Then you could follow it up with, what would need to be true for you to feel confident moving forward? Why is it that you're wanting to hold back from buying? What's causing you to stop doing that? They're going to immediately say interest rate, whatever. It's like, well, what would need to change in regards to that interest rate or other circumstances to help you move forward? These are basically questions that put it back onto them, that maybe they're just regurgitating what they heard in the media, and it makes them actually think through logically. Because if their whole argument is about the interest rate, and you can just simply say, well, what's your job situation look like? Do you feel like you're going to get a raise anytime soon? Or do you feel like there's a job security where you might not have a job? Like, what's actually holding you back from, you're worried about the interest rate, but we could always refinance. Like, what is it about the interest rate that's holding you back from being able to move forward, right? Those are clarifying questions and not just taking it as face value. All right, number 2, if we found the right home tomorrow, what would still make you pause? This surfaces hidden objections. Yeah, so in other words, if we found a home that fits everything you want to look for, like if you were to give me the ideal list of everything that you want in a house, and we were to find that home, what would hold you back from making that purchase? Many buyers hesitate because of unspoken fears, like overpaying, losing negotiating leverage, buyer's remorse, or making the wrong long-term decision. These are all things that they will definitely hold to. When you ask this calmly and directly, you normalize the fear. And once it's on the table, you can educate. You can explain inspection contingencies, appraisal protections, negotiation strategies, or resale value considerations. Unspoken fear stalls deals, but named fears can be addressed. I'm going to pause for just a second here too, is especially if you're dealing with a buyer, here's something I want you to think about. If you are not doing a buyer consultation with your buyers, you need to start. Especially if they're first-time home buyers. You need to take upon yourself a time to go into the office or go out to coffee and have a conversation. Ask them thought-provoking questions about the real estate transaction. Find out what they understand about it, what they know about it. Take this opportunity to walk them through the contracts once we do find a house, what that looks like. Walk them through the actual process of buying a house. We are agents. We assume that the person we're dealing with understands how real estate works. And that is a very dangerous assumption. Even a person that has done multiple purchases do not know it as well as you do. And they can get very confused of all the nuances. And also, a lot of them, given the complexity of real estate, have had a bad experience before. So you're doing two things when you bring somebody into a conversation to explain the process. You're doing something that the majority of agents have never done with them before. So you're already establishing upfront your value proposition. The second thing you're doing is you're giving yourself the opportunity to diffuse any fears that might be hidden that could limit you being able to move forward with that client. So that buyer consultation is crucial. It's going to give you time to address both those things. You're going to be able to deliver your value, and you're going to be able to clarify and bring to light any fears they have and answer their questions. Then when you start looking at properties, you start looking at them, you're going to have a better informed buyer ready to move forward in the home of their dreams because you've helped them understand the process of buying that home, okay? Number 3, on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready do you feel right now? This question does two things. It forces self-assessment and it gives you a baseline. I like that question. This could be in your buyer consultation. On a scale of 1 to 10, how ready do you feel right now? In other words, how ready do you feel like you're ready to go buy a house? Where do we land on this? If they say a 5, your follow-up becomes, what would move to a 7? Now you're not trying to drag them from hesitant to committed. Instead, you're helping them take the next incremental step. Sometimes the answer is education. Sometimes it's timeline clarity. Sometimes it's simply reassurance that they're not alone in feeling uncertain. Hesitant buyers are often just underinformed or overwhelmed. Now, this is a very profound statement, and it seems so simple and logical, but underinformed is interesting. And here's why, is we live in an information age. How could somebody be underinformed in the time that we live in? Well, that overwhelmed and underinformed combine because the amount of information out there, the amount of opinions that are out there, cause the mind of the buyer to be so clouded into the reality of how it all works. So they're going to default to the fear aspect of those uninformed decisions. They're going to go what makes them uncomfortable, and they're going to rest there. So as an agent that's meeting with a client that is at that point, your goal is to help them understand the entire process, give them objective understanding about the transaction itself, and help get them to closing, diffusing all the fears and worries and making it very clear that you do this all the time, you understand the ins and outs, and be an understanding about the fears they do have and acknowledging them. So yes, they are overwhelmed because there's so much information, and they're underinformed because the information they're getting is a lot of times wrong. We talked about this a couple days ago, it might have been yesterday, talking about how AI can be inaccurate and give bad advice because it's all about the prompt. If you type in a prompt that doesn't make any sense, or you just simply ask a very generic question like, how do I negotiate to buy a house? Well, that doesn't actually objectively give you information to be able to negotiate within the local market that you're in. It is just the prompt, and it's going to default to whatever it thinks. That's not necessarily good advice to help the person build their confidence up to be able to move to close, right? That's where the realtor comes in. This type of stuff here, these type of questions and going through that buyer consultation, seller consultation is where the value's at these days. Don't negate that. The client itself, and remember, it might take time, and you might fall into this entire perspective here, and you might say, I don't have time to sit down with every single one of my clients and go to coffee for an hour or two talking about all these questions. Trust me, you better make time. This is a referral business. Your goal is to make the experience of that client the best they've ever had, making them as comfortable as possible, understanding their issues and their fears, and helping them navigate that. Because that time invested up front is going to carry massive dividends throughout the whole entire transaction, and it's going to carry over after closing. So when someone asks them, well, who is your agent, or can you recommend an agent, they recommend you. Okay? You can't afford to not do this. It is crucial that you do. All right, there you go. I hope that's helpful. I hope you guys find this helpful. I really do. That's the desire here. All right, moving on to number 3. This article here is the article here is Parked and Productive: How to Turn Car Time into Winning Video Content. It says, ditch the studio setup and stiff over edited videos at your desk and turn your parked car into a high converting mobile content hub. Now, on the surface, you think like I don't really want to do video at all. I don't really want to do this. And then we end up overthinking it. We want to have like the best cameras in the world. We want to, have best editing and all that. The reality is people don't care. Especially when it comes to like Reels and YouTube Shorts, they really don't care. They want content. They want quick 1-2 minute blurps, that kind of stuff. And the whole premise behind this is helping you just to think that let's just not overthink content. And let's get into this because I think this is a great idea. Let's see, do I have it in here? A device I was going to recommend. I don't think I have it. I'm not sure where it is. I have a little portable microphone setup that has a little thing, has a magnet on it you clip to your shirt, and then you you mount it into your phone, and it mics you up. I do recommend that. I think it's like $100 or something like that. Nothing crazy expensive, but the audio is just a little bit better, especially if you are going to do this in your car. So this is a little bit of tech that I would recommend. If you're going to do any kind of video recording in your car, get a different type of microphone because the road noise and the echo and that kind of stuff, audio is very, very important. The video quality, not so much, especially in like TikToks and that kind of stuff. Better quality, great. New phones and all that kind of stuff can do an amazing job. But really, the audio is so important. It needs to be very clear that they can hear you. Anyway, let's get into the article. When a real estate agent takes a look at their calendar on any given day, there's a good chance a significant chunk of time isn't spent sitting behind a desk. It's spent in the driver's seat. Between driving from listing appointments, waiting for late clients to arrive at showings, and sitting outside during home inspections, agents spend a large portion of their work week in their cars. While this offers the time to return phone calls, check emails, or even mindlessly scroll on social media, it also offers the perfect opportunity to create video content for their business. In today's social media space, there is no need for professional ring lights. Look, this is all very true. Let's just cut down on all the complexities of recording video these days. You don't need it. You don't need a quiet office or studio, a perfect script, or a long block of time to record. In fact, highly polished content often comes across as stiff, rehearsed, and ingenuine. But in the car, you get built-in natural lighting, surprisingly great acoustics, and an instantly authentic day-in-the-life vibe. There are a ton of TikTok channels, YouTube channels, and everything that just do videos in their car. I see them all the time. They're sitting in their car and they just got the phone. Sometimes it's even at this angle, like down and then up, which is the worst angle you could ever do because you're looking up at people's nostrils. But still, they're doing that and they've got thousands of views and they're also delivering something of value. So this is very true. Don't overthink this. And this article, I think, is going to give some just very simple ideas. Candid beats complicated. Modern social media audiences are increasingly immune to polished commercial-style marketing. They don't want to be sold to by a talking head behind a desk. That's what I'm doing. They want raw, candid reflections from an active professional who is out in the world doing their work. That's true. When you are a sales agent and you're in the field listing and selling homes, there's nothing more authentic than just popping up and record a quick video and throwing it out there. Car video naturally feels like a casual face-to-face chat with a friend. And I would approach that recording just like that. I would approach it just as if you're doing like FaceTime with a friend. I heard this tip once before. It's like visualize like a person you know on the other side of that lens and as if you're carrying a conversation on with them, and your delivery of that video is going to be way, way, way better. So if whoever you're the most comfortable talking to, a spouse, significant other, friend, whatever, relative, sibling, whatever it might be, picture that person and as if you're talking to them. Here are 3 simple steps to help you turn your car into a content studio. It says, a car video naturally feels like a casual face-to-face. It immediately communicates to your followers that you are busy, productive, and actively navigating the local market in real time. It shifts your content from abstract advice to real-world experience. That's what people want. They want that authenticity. The stationary rule. Okay, don't be driving, basically. I'm going to skip that. Park facing toward natural light, but avoid direct, harsh sunlight beaming directly into your windows or windshield. Cloudy days or shaded parking spots offer the best lighting. Yeah, so first of all, don't do this while driving, ever. Don't do that. But secondly, the natural lighting is key. Don't ever park with the sun blaring through the front windshield. Obviously, you're going to be completely distorted and you're going to probably be squinting, that kind of stuff. The best angle, if you could see my lighting, they're coming from the angles in. So if you could park in a way where the sun is kind of off to the corner, like right off to the side of your face, like this, on one way or the other, it's going to illuminate. And the cool thing about having a side angle shot like that with light is it does create a little bit of cool shadows that gives a definition to your overall face. Now, for me, I have it lit up so you can see me clearly, and I don't think I can do individual. I can turn my lights off and I get really dark. But you can see my natural light coming in from a window off to my right. And you can kind of see it adds some depth to me, but it obviously for recording purposes, it kind of messes things up. But for you in a car, the natural lighting is amazing. All right, capture the fresh reaction. The best time to record a video is immediately after an event happens, while your reaction and thoughts are still fresh. Don't wait until you get home at 7 p.m. to talk about something interesting that happened at 10 a.m. Instead, tap record for 30 seconds after you step away. For example, here's some examples, and these are great. Just left an inspection. I just walked out of a home inspection in neighborhood, and the inspector found something super common that every first-time buyer overlooks. Finished a competitive offer presentation. I'm sitting outside a listing where we were one of 4 offers. Here is the one clause we included that helped my buyers win. Okay, these are just ideas. Waiting for a client to arrive for a showing. I'm parked outside this incredible new listing in town while waiting for my clients. Before they get here, let me show you my favorite exterior detail. See, these are all very simple 30-second to a minute little videos you can do and post real quick while you're going about your everyday life. And they're tangible. This shows people that you're working, you're active, you're out there in the field, you're engaging with people, and it's relatable and people find it interesting. Immediate unscripted reactions carry natural energy and authenticity that cannot be replicated hours or days later. Stick to one take. Now, this is true too. Don't sit there and do a bunch of takes after takes after takes after takes. Just record. For a lot of agents, overcomplicating the editing process is where they struggle. Car content works best when they feel real, direct, and unedited. To ensure you keep your videos tight and under 45 seconds, follow this structure. Context, 5 seconds. State where you are and what you just did. I'm sitting outside the title company after a smooth closing. Okay, first 5 seconds. Insight, 25 seconds. Share one specific takeaway, tip or lesson learned from that experience. Question, 10 seconds. Ask your audience a low-pressure question to spark engagement in the comments. Have you ever seen an inspection report bring up this issue? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so that's the structure. Context for 5 seconds, insight for 25 seconds, and questions for 10 seconds. Agents don't need more hours in the day to build a consistent video strategy. They just need to repurpose the hours they already have. The next time you arrive 5 minutes early for a listing appointment or finish up a showing, resist the urge to open your inbox. Instead, mount your phone, pull from a fresh experience, and record a 30-second observation. By turning the time you spend in your car into prime content creation time, you will build an authentic, relatable brand that keeps you top of mind. I think it's so simple. I like that. Let me know in the comments if you guys like that. I think it's a simple structure. Again, context for 5 seconds, insight 25 seconds, and then question for 10 seconds. That's only 40 seconds, guys. That's such a short video. But that's plenty of time for those quick reels. All right. I got one more article, and we are doing good on time, guys. 10 minutes left, and let's do this. And this is going to shift gears just a little bit to just some news. It hit, yesterday in the news, and I was going to do a quick video on it. I just did not have time. So I'm going to talk about it today to wrap up this week to kind of keep us still on point about what's going on in the real estate world. So this is very specific to the real estate industry. It's talking about Zillow and RealTracs, which is an MLS, and a licensing deal after listing feed standoff. So this is a continuation of this saga of portal wars versus MLS versus coming soon. So this is just to wrap up this week with one little topic here. It says RealTracs Zillow reach licensing deal after listing feed standoff. The agreement adds transparency around suppression and new protections for listing data. RealTracs and Zillow have reached a new licensing agreement that will keep the multiple listing services direct feed flowing to the portal, ending months of negotiations over listing display rules, broker-created data, and the use of real estate content in artificial intelligence. The Nashville-based MLS announced Wednesday. So RealTracs was involved and connected to Compass and MRED, but they've done some negotiation with themselves with Zillow, and they've met some kind of compromise and brokered some kind of deal here. The agreement replaces a series of temporary extensions that kept RealTracs listings on Zillow while the two companies negotiated this summer. It also preserves access to Zillow-owned products, including ShowingTime, Follow Up Boss, and .loop for RealTracs brokers and agents. Yes, if you didn't know, Zillow does own ShowingTime, Follow Up Boss, and .loop. So just for the record. Okay. Got another spammer here. Jeez. I'm blocking somebody else. Yeah. Good old internet, man. You get some crazy comments. We don't want to see all that. All right. So yeah, they do own those. In a blog post on the agreement, RealTracs said the new deal places clear limits on how Zillow can use listing data, including guardrails covering artificial intelligence, large language models, market analytics, and consumer-facing products. Brokers and agents will also receive more detailed reporting about how their listings are viewed and engaged with on Zillow. So basically, RealTracs went in and negotiated with Zillow to come up with some guardrails to protect their data and what Zillow can do with that. And it looks like Zillow's done some compromising and some understanding of that. Now, I don't really know how this is going to play out, so let's just keep reading. The MLS has argued throughout the negotiations that listing information is created through the work and investment of brokers and agents, and that those professionals should have a greater say in how technology companies use and monetize that content. Amen. I applaud that statement right there. I agree with every bit of that. We as agents are the one doing all the legwork to get that data. We represent the client. It's us on the lines. We should have a say. I love that. But this is Zillow said it did not change the listing access standards that prompted RealTracs to threaten to terminate the feed this spring. Interesting. In a blog post published Wednesday, the home search leader said the standards were not modified under the agreement and remain fully in effect in the Nashville region. Now that's interesting. Where are we going with this? What's actually happening? So if you don't know, the access standards basically is, their access standards is like, hey, if you do coming soon and you do this whatever before going live with it within a time frame, you're permanently banned from sending your listings and syndicating with us. That's what that access standard is. Zillow said those standards allow it to suppress listings that were initially marketed to a limited audience before becoming broadly available to consumers, even when the listings comply with an MLS owns rules. Yeah, so that's what I just said. The agreement instead, okay, so here's the difference. The agreement instead gives RealTracs greater visibility when Zillow is preparing to take enforcement action against one of its subscribers. Zillow will notify RealTracs at the same time it alerts an agent that the agent has reached the threshold for listing suppression. Interesting. So, I guess, is this like a nothing burger? Like, I mean, I understand. Okay, so the only thing that Zillow has agreed to do is just notify RealTracs MLS when one of the subscribers is getting ready to be enforced, the access standards is getting ready to be enforced. So, okay. RealTracs said the notice will allow it to work directly with the affected brokerage or agent to promote what it called healthy cooperation. A RealTracs spokesperson confirmed to Inman that the standards remain in place and said the primary change is the addition of new guardrails around how listing data may be used, including in artificial intelligence applications. Yeah, I guess we're going to stay on point with this news article because this is relevant to the entire broad conversation, because when you start talking about like all these other MLSs and their fight against Zillow and Compass's, push against Zillow and what that looks like. RealTracs is a very big MLS and they've done something here. So maybe this comes out where other MLSs do likewise. I don't know. I just don't see really what this is really doing much of. It says the update put RealTracs rules in direct conflict with Zillow's listing access standards, which allow the portal to block listings that were initially marketed to a limited audience before becoming broadly available. The conflict became public in late May when RealTracs warned that it would shut off Zillow's direct listing feed beginning June 1st. The MLS said Zillow was the only major platform that had not complied with the updated policy and that dozens of RealTracs listings had already been banned. At the time, RealTracs said Zillow would need to stop blocking listings that complied with the MLS's rules if it wanted to keep receiving the direct feed. Zillow declined to change its standards, arguing that they promote a transparent and broadly accessible marketplace. Yeah, for you and buyers only. Again, the argument's for sellers. The company also accused Compass CEO Robert Refkin of leading a coordinated effort to pressure MLSs into pulling their feeds from Zillow. Rather than terminate the feed on June 1st, RealTracs granted a series of extensions while the two sides negotiated. And look, I got to applaud them for like working with and negotiating. I think that's always a good first step. The MLS ultimately allowed talks to continue beyond June 8th, expiration of their previous licensing agreement. The threatened cutoff carried potentially significant consequences for Zillow. When Midwest Real Estate Data temporarily severed its feed in May, Zillow quickly lost more than half of the listings available through its Chicago area search results before a federal judge ordered the feed restored while Zillow's lawsuit against MRED and Compass proceeded. That's still going on right now. RealTracs had also told members that brokers could continue sending listings to Zillow and other major portals through MLS Grid's broker-only export program if the MLS level feed went dark. But the organization said it preferred to reach updated agreements covering how listings information and license played. Okay. I'm not going to go anymore. We understand this broader argument and what's actually happening there. We're following this. Okay. So nothing too crazy there other than RealTracs and Zillow came to some kind of understanding. Ronald Jean-Charles, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here for the live stream as well. Yeah, so we'll just keep our finger on the pulse. That's obviously some kind of negotiation between RealTracs and Zillow. I feel like I don't really know other than RealTracs gets to know when one of their members is getting ready to be banned by Zillow. So I guess, yay. But I think Zillow is still calling the shots in a lot of ways there. Anyway, guys, we did it. We did 4 articles today. It's 9:27 a.m. I'm a little early, so that's good. We get started on our day a little sooner. That is the last article we had to discuss today. This is also the last stream of the week. Hopefully this entire week you guys have gotten something of value out of these live streams. That is always my goal. I don't take your time for granted whatsoever. If you are taking time out of your day to come here and listen to me talk about real estate, I want to make sure that I'm delivering something to you. So let me know in the comments with a big thumbs up that if that is happening. I want to make sure I stay on point. So Bobby, good to see you, man. Have a blessed day. You as well, my friend. Thank you for being here. Keep rocking in real estate and keep rocking in the triathlon training, buddy. You're doing awesome. I'm following you on TikTok. So guys, that is it for today. I hope you guys got some value. That is your real estate brief. If you found this helpful, please consider hitting the like button to tell YouTube you'd like to see more of this type of content, and consider subscribing and follow me on TikTok to join a community of real estate agents that are focused on building a business that is relationship focused first. I had more. I always have more. But that's the end of this show because we're out of time. I'll see you Monday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. I will try to live stream next week. I will be only live streaming Monday and Wednesday, Monday through Wednesday. I will be on the road Thursday. I am moving my son into college. It's bittersweet. All right, guys. Take care. Have a great rest of your week and a good weekend. Spend some time with family and enjoy life. We'll see you Monday. Take care.